Henshin a go-go, baby.
1, 2, 3, Rider.
Oh, hi, movies.
When I was a kid, I loved three things: superheroes, bugs, and video games. And so, when I was a wee lad, there was a little show called The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, a little game console called the Sega CD, as well as a little magazine called Game Pro. One fateful day, flipping through its pages, I ran across a review for a game called The Masked Rider, Kamen Rider ZO. And I was more than a little confused. I had never heard of this hero, and he wasn't on TV or anything. However, seeing a hero that catered to my very niche interests, I was immediately hooked and fascinated by this guy. The rider, with his motorcycle and dark design, looked more than a little intriguing and much more mysterious than the colorful Power Rangers. Something about it just stayed with me. The game did wind up receiving decidedly mixed reviews, praising its visuals but complaining about its limited FMV gameplay. And yet, my fascination remained undeterred until I saw Saban and Fox Kids' horrible butchering of the story. That kept me away until I was well into college and could discover what's so special about this franchise. But we're not here to talk about Furbus and Idenoi, okay? I'm here to give you a little crash course into the real show. So, Kamen Rider. Where to even begin with Kamen Rider? Oh my god. Flashbacks of conversations like, is that Power Rangers? No, Mom! It's Kamen Rider! It's totally different! Come to mind. But I digress. Kamen Rider, alongside Power Rangers, Godzilla, and Ultraman, are examples of Tokusatsu. To say Tokusatsu is to conjure up images of rubber suits, monsters, and explosions. So many explosions.
Sometimes when I morph, I can't help but notice this gigantic explosion right behind me for no apparent reason.
I assume you're referring to the residual energy runoff that is sometimes necessary to clear the suit's biofield channels during the morph.
I'm referring to the 6-story high fireballs like that one, right there. Now, could that happen to me in the kitchen or something?
However, there are a ton of ways to prepare those ingredients, and there can be a hell of a lot more to it, depending on who's at the helm. So, it's Power Rangers, but totally different. Originally created by the legendary Shotaro Ishinomori in 1971, alongside his vastly better known Super Sentai that formed the basis for the Power Rangers, the series has been a mainstay in Japanese and Asian pop culture for over 50 years. It's also captured the hearts of James Gunn, Hideo Kojima, and arguably Guillermo del Toro. But I get ahead of myself. If Power Rangers is Superman, then Kamen Rider is Batman. The stories tend to be a bit edgier, peppered with the understated angst of a lone soldier fighting whatever forces of evil created him in the first place. The very first Rider series concerned the titular hero's fight against Shocker, an outright neo-Nazi terrorist group that created him as yet another weapon for fascist world domination. There is something inherently poetic about the concept. A man who is taken to be a tool for evil and irreversibly mutilated, who nonetheless decides to resist and literally rider kick the very evil that made him right back in its stupid face, while riding a motorcycle, in sweet power armor, with superpowers. And when the likes of that evil include a Mexican humanoid cactus, a revived Egyptian mummy, and a menagerie of mutated critters, it's no surprise Japanese kids of the 70s went crazy for it. There is a certain punk rock energy to the early shows, with their questionable safety standards and shaky 16mm camera work that still make for a charming watch even today. It just carries this can-do, make everything with nothing attitude that permeates the franchise even today, and never fails to get me more hyped than whatever Marvel, Sony, or Warner put out most of the time anyways. Over the years, the formula has been tweaked and played with in all kinds of ways. It's formed dozens of separate, largely standalone continuities with only the vaguest connections over time. Some series lean harder on appealing to kids with lighthearted stories and silly jokes, while others are straight-up adults-only, grimdark, nihilistic fables of man and science gone awry. No, seriously, the recent Kamen Rider Black Sun was unironically the bleakest, most merciless political satire I've ever seen in Japanese media, tokusatsu or otherwise. It's a lot, and I mean a lot to take in. And that's why Kamen Rider ZO, not ZO, in my humble opinion, is the place to get a glimpse of Rider at its best. If you're merely Karate Bugman curious, you do get an understanding of what makes the series so special without getting bogged down in dozens of episodes of lore and coming away with a lean, mean spectacle for all your trouble. A big chunk of the credit for what makes ZO so unique is that it's directed by the visionary Keita Amemiya. Amemiya is something of a renegade in Tokusatsu. Whereas most Tokusatsu tends to rely on high-key lighting and keeping things generally kid-friendly, Amemiya's works are often dark, moody, full of weird alien languages and H.R. Giger-esque creatures that he usually conjures up himself. Indeed, he got his start with the Rider series as a monster designer on the famed Kamen Rider Black series. I could do a whole retrospective on him, and totally would if you, dear viewer, are down for it. With ZO, it doesn't hurt that he's working with a screenplay by Noboru Sugimura, who would go on to write entries in the Resident Evil series. The movie itself is a 48-minute standalone featurette that tells the story of Masaru Aso, who is mysteriously lying asleep in some forest somewhere, and is just as mysteriously awakened by a grasshopper, as well as an eerily serene song playing from a pocket watch. He responds to an unheard voice telling him about Neo lifeforms and protect Hiroshi Mochizuki, prompting him to leap into action and pass the title card. And right after that, we're introduced to Doras, an evil insectoid that decides to spend its first few seconds of life taking down a power line, getting on to chasing Hiroshi. Needless to say, the movie wastes no time in setting the stage. The basic narrative is essentially a riff on Terminator 2, with Masaru/Kamen Rider ZO as Arnie, Hiroshi as John Connor, and Doras as the T-1000, who also comes equipped with some memorable sidekicks I'll get into in a moment. The story is really just an excuse to lead our cast through various cool set pieces and to show off some genuinely creepy monsters. Yet, there is a lot of heart in how they deliver this premise. It has a certain storybook type of simplicity and eloquence that leans heavily on archetype. It lets us, the viewer, just accept all of this ridiculousness at face value. Masaru himself is just a great classic hero. He deals with the anger of having been unfortunate enough to assist a mad doctor who then made him subject to horrible experiments merging his DNA with that of a grasshopper that did give him powers but completely changed who he was. Even so, he vows to remain kind and protected of that very same mad doctor's son. Cole Domon's performance, coupled with his chiseled good looks and boyish demeanor, makes for a likable leading man's man. It's a gentle yet firm masculinity that we don't get a lot of, even in more recent Rider shows. Domon has some genuine chemistry with Shohei Shibata as the young Hiroshi, and you can buy why this guy would be seen as a big brother type by such a little kid. And the rest of the cast is equally solid, including Hiroshi Inuzuka as Hiroshi's eccentric grandfather, Naomi Morinaga as an obligatory chopsaki heroine, and Tokusatsu mainstay and Kill Bill guest star Kenji Oba as a mustachio dojo man. They're not rich, complex characters or anything, but they are fun and smart enough to sell us the real stars, the monsters, and our big green guy himself. ZO's design is almost perfection. It's elegant and sleek, evoking an exoskeleton, while still allowing the performer plenty of room to move around in dynamic ways. His dark motif reflects his sinister origins, which makes his heroism all the more compelling. Doesn't hurt he's also got an appropriately buggy motorcycle that he's not afraid to do tricks on and abuse in all sorts of ways. And what is a cool hero without even cooler bad guys? 3 in fact. The aforementioned Doras is, like I said, basically a bug-themed T-1000 complete with regenerative powers and morphing from a phantasm-like ball to a metallic superbug to a Geiger-esque nightmare fuel that I'll let you discover for yourself. He was designed as a Dark Rider by Amemiya, so he does have a similar grasshopper motif, just a lot slimier and spiky than our clean-cut hero. Early in the film, Doras unleashes 2 helpers to help collect energy for him. The Batman, not to be confused with a certain Gotham denizen, and the Spider-Woman, not to be confused with a certain Marvel copyright protection scheme. The Spider-Woman especially is just a work of art. She goes from a stop-motion character that moves with a Harryhausen-esque jerkiness that lends her an otherworldly air. She's a suitmation puppet that took 10 crew members to operate, and she's just a delight to see every time she's on screen. She slices, she dices, she can't be ruined by Fox Kids because she was that freaking awesome.
What kind of place is this?
My kind of place, of course. Welcome to Hypersex Lab, Master Rider.
Sorry, I was just leaving.
Oh, no, I insist.
The Batman, on the other hand, is a bit less technically impressive. His flying scenes look a bit clunky and rely on a lot of obvious edits to hide the wires, so to speak. That said, the suit itself is pretty sweet. Wings on the head are reminiscent of Devilman's Sirenu, and he also has these really creepy eyes on his hands that I'm sure went on to inspire the geeky Guillermo del Toro for Pan's Labyrinth. Though, to be fair, I haven't been able to find an exact quote to back me up on that front, and there is a similar Japanese yokai called the Tenome that predates either creation and probably inspired the Batman himself, so jury's out on that one, I guess. Okay, elephant in the room, and I'll be blunt. These effects from 1983 are much less slick than even their contemporaries at the time. Yes, I know. However, in an age where so many things can feel fake, the authenticity and earnestness at play in this movie is just so refreshing. CGI is kept to a minimum in favor of optical effects and practical puppets that add an unmistakable physical quality to the action. There's something to be said for when you see an explosion or a fight, you know that something blew up or got hit, and there probably wasn't much room for retakes. This makes some of the later set pieces all the more impressive, such as the final fight, which has a significant chunk play out as a beautiful one take that doesn't spare the pyrotechnics all the same. It creates this synthesis of stage play, film magic, and sheer craftsmanship that can make it all quite hypnotic if you're in the right headspace for it and are willing to give it an honest shot. And the best part is that it is free and legal to watch right here on YouTube. The Toei Tokusatsu World channel has episodes of just about every Rider show of the past 50 years, including the complete Kamen Rider ZO movie, available right there for your viewing pleasure. I should also mention that Media Blasters has officially released ZO as part of the Kamen Rider Trilogy collection, which also includes not only ZO, but also the movie Shin Kamen Rider Prologue, which, while not directed by Amemiya himself, he did do the special effects on, and it's a gory, gorgeous mess in its own right, as well as Kamen Rider J, which was directed by Amemiya, and while not quite as strong as ZO, is still pretty fun. It really is a blessing and a curse that ZO is so short. Not long ago, the Tokusatsu network did interview Amemiya, and he did explicitly say that there were plans for a full-on ZO TV series that never got off the ground due to unspecified production problems that the infamously taciturn Amemiya refused to elaborate on. What we are left with, though, is a cult classic that has had a legacy of sorts throughout the years, and if you're at all interested, you can check it out in the description box below. A big thank you to the viewers who took the time to watch and comment on my previous adolescence video. It really does small solo channels like myself a huge favor. I do all of the editing, writing, and recording here, with a few revisions on script front from friends such as the Brand Files, Vintage Henshin, and of course, the lovely Mrs. Movies. I would like to eventually monetize this thing, so your support is greatly appreciated. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and Henshin!